In this WrestleTalk news, Bray Wyatt's WWE Return has been a huge success. Is there a Wyatt 6 faction coming in? Another big update on Jon Moxley's AEW contract and more. Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
In case you missed it, which would seem insane as we posted not 1, not 2, not 4, but 3 videos about it yesterday, as well as a full review on the WrestleTalk podcast channel, which I guess does mean we posted 4 videos, but Bray Wyatt made his long-awaited return to WWE this past Saturday at Extreme Rules. Wyatt had been released by WWE in July of last year as part of their budget cuts, despite being one of the most popular and over acts in the company. It came out following his release that a potential reason he was given his marching orders was because he would call out bad creative if he saw it as bad. As Fightful Select put it, if he thought something was he would say it was and Vince McMahon found that difficult to deal with. However, once Vince was out and Trips was in, the conversation began to change. There had been plenty of reports of where Wyatt would end up once he left WWE, and even claims that he'd left wrestling altogether, especially after it was revealed he was working on a movie with Jason Baker, which was described as Ichi the Killer meets Xanadu. One report said that Impact Wrestling could have been a new home for him. There were reports that conversations had taken place between Wyatt and AEW, and there was even talk that Freddie Prinze Jr.'s startup wrestling promotion had made him a serious offer to join their ranks. But a new report from Fightful Select is now saying that just 1 week after Vince McMahon retired, those within WWE felt optimistic that Wyatt would come back into the company. 1 month later, and one WWE source told Fightful they were completely convinced that Wyatt was back with WWE. The report also says that WWE sources they spoke to felt that Wyatt's return at Extreme Rules was very well received and were very happy with the buzz created in the weeks leading up to WWE Extreme Rules with the QR codes and cryptic videos. Very well received is quite the understatement. At the time of this recording, the 2 videos of Bray's return have a combined 3.3 million views. When comparing it to other videos posted from the event, only Edge kicking Dom in his Mysterios comes close in terms of clicks, with the other clips of actual matches doing around 200 to 250,000 views each. Wyatt's return videos aren't close to breaking any sorts of records, but to give some context, it's only really videos involving Roman Reigns that draws those sorts of numbers in recent times. A lot of the credit for this success has been given to Wyatt and the newly hired director of long-term creative, Rob Fee, who is a former writer for Marvel Comics. Fee reportedly has a good relationship with Wyatt, and he even pitched a movie based on The Fiend directly to Nick Khan last year, which was very well received, but Wyatt's release cancelled any plans for it to actually be made. According to Fightful Select, several that are usually in the know were kept out of the loop about the context of the White Rabbit videos until this past week. And this is because the usual WWE creative team were largely hands-off on the White Rabbit storyline and Wyatt's return. Sean Ross Sapp notes that some of the references within the videos did have to be approved, but for the most part, WWE creative were not involved. And it looks like the creative is just getting started, as the teasers of the Wyatt 6 have begun.
Before we get on with the rest of the episode, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to this video's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends! Where you can download the dark fantasy RPG that brings a true console-level experience for free using our link below. Raid Shadow Legends have introduced a huge new feature, Awakening, where if you can manage to best the Iron Twins Fortress, you can awaken your champions and give them a unique blessing, completely changing the way you play the game. And Raid has released a super-powered legendary version of everyone's favorite champion, Death Knight. Ultimate Death Knight is perfect, and everyone can get him for free just by logging in for 7 days in a row between now and October 27th. He's far better than Jobber Death Knight, your obsolete Death Knight! And by using the DK Rises promo code, you can get a bunch of free stuff to instantly get your new strongest champion all the way to level 50, which works for both new and existing players. So download Raid Shadow Legends right now using our link below or by scanning the QR code on screen now to also get bonuses worth $30, including 1 free epic champion, Rector Drath, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard. Clicking that link also helps support us here at WrestleTalk too, so make sure to check it out. Raid that raid.
Welcome aboard this 1 p.m. WrestleTalk news train service. Our next stop is Speculation Station. One of the big talking points coming out of Bray's return has been his Twitter handle of Wyatt6, which fans have speculated to mean that he's launching a new faction. His re-debut featured human versions of his funhouse puppets, Huskus the Pig Boy, Rambling Rabbit, Sister Abigail, and Mercy the Buzzard, as well as the Fiend himself. With Wyatt walking through the door holding the lantern, that makes 6 people. And among the top trends on Twitter yesterday, which included He's Back, Bray Wyatt, and White Rabbit, was the term Wyatt6, which has fans speculating on who could join this new group. And seemingly adding fuel to that speculation fire are current NXT stars Grayson Waller and Joe Gacy. Some fans had speculated that Gacy himself was the White Rabbit, especially after the last QR code video on Raw spelt out the word Gacy in binary, and the man himself shared a photo of the Philadelphia skyline as if to say he was going to be on the Extreme Rules show. And his most recent tweet includes 2 smiley face emojis, one of which being upside down, and that sparked further discussions about his connections to Wyatt, presumably because he's got a cult leader gimmick and faction in NXT, which includes the former grizzled young veterans. Waller's tweets have been far more overt. His first was tweeting out a bald eagle emoji, which is basically the closest thing you can get to a buzzard, perhaps because fans speculated that the button-down shirt style that Human Mercy had at Extreme Rules was a lot like Waller's look in NXT. And in a new video posted to Twitter to hype his feud with Apollo Crews, he said that following Crews' gouging of his eyes on NXT, he had to go out on a date with a 6 out of 10. Get it? Wyatt6? But it was the background detail that fans noticed more, because at the 27-second mark, he leans forward to reveal the Fiend's old lantern sat behind him. More likely this is just Waller leaning, both figuratively and literally, into the idea that fans think he might join this rumored faction to create some buzz around him, which is a very smart move because, well, he's in this episode of the WrestleTalk news, so clearly it's working. Well done. Another name being bandied around by fans is Liv Morgan, who lost her SmackDown Women's Championship to Ronda Rousey at Extreme Rules. While she was passing out to Rousey's submission, she had a big old smile on her face and laughed as Ronda left the ring, which was highlighted by commentary. WrestlingNews.co claimed that a darker version of her character was possibly incoming, and WWE's YouTube channel posted an interview video with her titled Liv Morgan is in a dark place, which is the 4th most watched video from the Extreme Rules coverage, behind the 2 Wyatt return videos and Edge kicking Dom in the breadbasket. Many of the comments left on that video are fans speculating that she could be joining Wyatt in his new faction, which was furthered by her blacking out her social media profile. Seth Rollins also blacked out his social media, but there is less speculation from fans that he'll be joining the group, with most presuming this is just a simple tribute to Sarah Lee, who passed away last week. Bayley wore tape on her match against Bianca Belair on Extreme Rules with Sarah written on it as a tribute, and Bray Wyatt also posted a link to Lee's memorial GoFundMe page. However, there is one name that is apparently returning to WWE and is directly linked to Bray Wyatt. According to Brian Alvarez of Figure 4, Bo Dallas is expected to be back in WWE very soon. Dallas, the real-life brother of Bray Wyatt, was released by WWE in April of 2021, having not had a match in the company since a house show in November 2019. There had always been rumors and speculation that Dallas would join his brother in one of his factions, be that Cult Leader Bray or Firefly Funhouse Bray. But who do you think is joining the Wyatt6? Or do you even think there's a faction at all? Why don't you let me know in the comments down below. But Wyatt wasn't the only return to WWE recently, as Zelina Vega returned to SmackDown as the new member of Legado del Fantasma. But that also means that a member of that group is currently missing. Thank you for your support on Patreon. He's no jackass Dano and fantastic Mr. Good Old Fox. You can get your name shouted out on the WrestleTalk news over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Legado del Fantasma made their main roster debuts on this past Friday SmackDown, taking out Hit Row. The group of Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and Cruz del Toro were also joined by Zelina Vega, who's not been on WWE TV since April. Vega joining the group raised the question of where was Electra Lopez, who was with Legado del Fantasma while in NXT? And it seems like we weren't the only ones asking that question. Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio noted that Electra Lopez herself thought she was being called up with the rest of the group, and that everyone was under the impression she'd be on SmackDown as part of the act. However, even with Trips in charge, the more things change, the more they stay the same, as the reported reason she wasn't called up is because they changed their minds and she wasn't. Moving over to AEW news now, and there's been an update on the status of Jon Moxley and GCW following Mox dropping the GCW championship to Nick Gage over the weekend. The update is, he's done with GCW, at least for now. There's a lot of moving parts to this story. Firstly, GCW announced their champ at the time, Moxley, would defend the ECW championship against the hero of the promotion, Nick Gage, with Gage's career on the line. This match and stipulation was made in August, when Mox was the interim AEW World Champion, and although he unified the belts on Dynamite, he lost the title to CM Punk in the main event of All Out. This meant that him losing the GCW title to Gage wouldn't have been a political issue, as Tony Khan is protective of his champions being pinned on other people's shows, which makes a lot of sense when you're a promoter of a wrestling company and you want to present your top stars as top stars. But then Brawl Out happened, and CM Punk was suspended by AEW along with the Elite and was stripped of his AEW World Championship. Moxley then won a Tournament of Champions to again be crowned the AEW World Champion, which meant that he was now defending his GCW Championship while also being the AEW Champion, and that creates political issues. As it turns out, Gage won the GCW World Championship when MJF's faction on retainer The Firm interfered in the match and W. Morrissey cost Moxley the belt. It certainly is the simplest way out of the situation, but according to Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful Select, it was not one made by GCW. The night before Moxley defended his title against Gage, AEW announced that he had signed a new extension on his All Elite Wrestling contract, which would keep him with the company until 2027 on an exclusive basis, allowing him to wrestle with their international partners like New Japan. Companies like GCW and Revolver were not named in the press release. Fightful note that GCW were unaware of the contract extension and what it meant for them until the press release was out, and even then, didn't know what it meant for Mox's relationship with them. And now GCW sources have told Fightful that AEW didn't want Moxley to do the match, and that they have asked their talent to not work GCW dates for months. However, Mox, being a man of his word, insisted that he finish up his run with GCW. He is no longer listed for dates with the company. As for the finish of the Gage title win, GCW reps claim they had no say over the end of the match or how it would play out. Fightful reached out to AEW for comment, but did not get committal answers. Fightful add that those they spoke to believe that Moxley is still allowed to work independent dates, but they will be surprise appearances rather than advertised ahead of time. But what about the man himself? What reasoning has he given behind his long-awaited re-emergence? In a rather charming way, it looks like the answer may simply be, he just missed us too darn much. In the moments following his return, a fan posted a clip on Twitter of his daughter reacting excitedly to Wyatt's appearance, which caught the attention of Wyatt himself.